Hey everyone, Carl here with Literate Lessons, bringing you a deep dive featuring Dialga and Kyogre this week. Dialga and Kyogre are very interesting as a duo when it comes to Series 12, mainly due to the fact that we're used to seeing a steel type and a water, like in Kyogre, put together very often in like swordfish style teams, but not so much with Dialga. It adds an interesting wrinkle to team building and can actually probably be more beneficial, I think, in this format right now than the standard Kyogre Dialga, Kyogre Zacian teams. But before we get started on all that, make sure to hit that like button, ring the bell for notifications for when new videos go live, leave a comment down below, all that fun YouTube algorithm stuff. Make sure to check out our merch page where we've got hats and stickers and all sorts of stuff going on. I know we have new stuff getting ready to come out, so would love to, if you want some of your own Little Lessons merch, you know where to go find it. Link will be in the description down below. So, Kyogre and Dialga. Kyogres are fairly standardized anymore. Like looking at team building, you don't really see anything crazy on these guys. Most of the time they're running just like the standard water spout, Scald, if you're like don't want to play Origin Pulse, Ice Beam, Thunder, things like that. And Dialga is where things start to get interesting, trying to play like this bulky special attacker that can max and just boost your defenses to astronomical levels with like Earth Power, Flash Cannon, Dragon Claw, Draco Meteor, Roar of Time, I think is the signature if I remember right. Yeah, Roar of Time. So there's a lot of cool things that Dialga gets access to that are really beneficial to helping Kyogre combat some of its big weaknesses in like Rillaboom and Regieleki. Unlike Zacian, Dialga is also fairly bulky when it comes to its base stats overall, boasting a 120 defense and a 100 special defense without 100 base HP. Very, very bulky, very, very strong as a max candidate, whereas Kyogre doesn't always want to max. Dialga will most definitely just like, sure, I'll do it for you. Filling out the team with Dialga and Kyogre is fairly straightforward too. Usually you want a ground immunity for Dialga, and something that plays along with Kyogre really well is Zapdos. Not the Galarian version that you all just got your shinies for, but like the Cantonian version. I think this pairs really well with this duo overall, having access to like Hurricane, Airstream stuff, you access to Max Lightning, you get access to Heat Wave, which helps beat up on opposing Zacians and other bulky steel types like that. You could also run Weather Ball if that's something you're into and want Max Geyser. But overall, I think this Zapdos is a great pairing alongside these guys. Another one to consider, like if you're looking for just like ground immunities, is Landorus. Specifically Therian form, because Intimidate's just really, really powerful. Your Dialga wants to stick around on the battlefield for as long as possible, and every chance you get to help boost that is going to help you in the long run. Whether that be through Intimidates or screens when we get to Grimmsnarl here in a little bit, stuff like that. For now, though, I like having Zapdos. We probably want to make a Kyogre that's not going to max very often, and in that situation, you want Zapdos and Dialga to probably be your max targets. Moving on into other kinds of like damage dealing here, we hit all across the board fairly well, especially with Dialga's deep coverage pool in like fire, ground, ice, steel, rock, you name it. Dialga probably has access to it, even fighting with like Aura Sphere, so that's really cool. So you don't really have to worry about running a whole lot of other coverage stuff to say. But you do have to watch out for certain things. Zacian can be a problem, and that's what Zapdos is good for. So another thing you'd have to like be wary of is like Yveltal. Zapdos is okay into an opposing Yveltal, but the Yveltals are starting to shift away from the Assault Vest versions and are becoming more of a Airstreamy Dynamax kind of scary thing with Life Orb. So you could probably have another Yveltal check in here. Something with, like I said, Landorus is really good at doing. You could also just run like Amoonguss to kind of help protect your Pokemon a little bit better, take away some of those scary attacks from your Dialga, from your Kyogre, and things like that. Especially since we're not really running Tailwind to help boost our Kyogre. You definitely would rather have some kind of redirector on your team to help pull damage away from these guys. Outside of those four, probably look at Intimidate still. I think you still want Intimidate in the form of like Incineroar. If you're wanting to do like a Trick Room mode with Dialga as well, Incineroar helps with that too by having Fake Out. Obviously Incineroar is just really good. It's kind of just everywhere. It's almost a no-brainer to play this thing most of the time. And then last but not least, I think Grimmsnarl is going to help this team out a ton. This is a good check into like opposing dragon type moves like Palkia. You can pivot this thing in. Having access to screens for all of these guys is really, really good. Access to Scary Face is really good. You could even play like the Trick Iron Ball or Trick Lagging Tail sets that we've seen running around with like Fake Tears. You are especially heavy, so you would have to, you could consider like swapping out Amoonguss for like a Rillaboom. You could swap Incineroar out for something more offensive. Could definitely look into doing something like that. But overall, Grimmsnarl with like Fake Tears helps just blow everybody up. Like, who's gonna stop you? Like, the worst thing that you do is you run into Incineroar and Yveltal lead with your Dialga Grimmsnarl lead. Like, that's like your worst case scenario here. Move-wise, overall, I think Dialga, you really just want both stabs and earth power. I've seen people dropping the dragon coverage for Blizzard or Ice Beam, mainly to help deal with opposing Groudon, because the Sun teams are getting popular again, and that's also fine. This thing's probably carrying Life Orb most of the time. You just want this thing to deal as much damage as when it Dynamaxes as possible. Last move could be Trick Room, could be Protect, however you want to do it. We're fairly fast with this team, so I think we're just gonna forego the Trick Room and run Protect. Not worrying too much about how much speed we're trying to like not invest in. We'll skip Kyogre and go to the Zapdos set. One of my favorite Zapdos sets right now is like the bulky Eerie Impulse sets. I really like those, especially since our Life Orb is here. We probably want to look at doing something a little bit more unique with our Zapdos. Thunderbolt, Hurricane obviously have those two moves, and then you can run Roost and Eerie Impulse and kind of just play that way. Since we have Amoonguss and Incineroar and Grimmsnarl, we have really good checks into Zacian that we don't have to worry too much about. So could definitely just like play these moves and then just slap Eerie Impulse here on the end of it. And kind of have something like this with a bulkier Zapdos. Could be like Leftovers, could be Rocky Helmet. I've seen a lot of these support Zapdoses just be really bulky and be annoying. Amoonguss Focus Sash is the best item in my opinion. I know you're a Regenerator mon and you want to play bulky and blah 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 blah, but I just feel like it's not worth it. Looking at moves, I'm in the firm camp that Pollen Puff, Protect, Sleep Powder, Spore, and Rage Powder are like your moves that you want. Unfortunately, this means you don't have to you have no way to really hit ground types without Kyogre, or hit grass types without Zapdos or Dialga. But I think that's fine. I think that's a sacrifice you're really willing to make here. Rage Powder, Spore, something like this. Kind of just play around with this kind of move set. We'll skip Incineroar, move on to this Grimmsnarl. I think Fake Tears is really, really good here. If we're running Fake Tears, I think we'd rather be Trick Lagging Tail or Trick Iron Ball, one of the two. Mainly just so we can get instant gratification when Fake Tears isn't good. You can trick this item, steal an item away from them, and punish them a whole lot. It's something that really messes with people in best of 1 and in best of 3. Just things to think about there. With Incineroar on the team, if it stays on the team, you don't have to worry about playing things like Reflect as much because you just have Intimidate, which essentially is doing Reflect things. So you could probably get away with just doing like Light Screen, Trick, and then a damaging move, and like Spirit Break, Foul Play. I really like Foul Play on the Grimmsnarl sets, especially if we're not running a dark move on Incineroar, just to kind of help edge our Cali Shadow matchup. It helps against things like Solgaleo and Calyrex Ice, which this team can kind of struggle against. Other options you can play in this slot, you can always play Thunder Wave. You can always play Scary Face. I'm a big proponent of having speed control, and this team really, really needs it. I feel like having access to just like say no, drop their speed, do something like that. Do remember though, Lagging Tail will make you move last in priority, not last on the board. So your prankster moves will still go ahead of all of your opponent's normal moves that aren't priority plus. Let's talk about Kyogre. So there's many ways we can build this Kyogre right now. We could build a bulky Assault Vest set. We can kind of lean towards Choice Scarf. We can lean towards the standard Mystic Water set. Overall, I think having Assault Vest Kyogre is just a really, really good option. It kind of helps your matchup against opposing Zapdos. It helps your matchup against opposing other special attackers like Yveltal and things like that. Helps you be a little bit bulkier. You still want to run like the standard Ice Beam, Water Spout. I like Scald over Origin Pulse because I really just want to make sure I have a move that hits almost 100% of the time, that Stab, and then run Thunder in that last slot. This covers the majority of the things you'll run into with Kyogre. Ice Beam lets you hit ground on super hard, outside into the sun. Thunder and Rain is really, really good against like the opposing flying types. That would kind of be a problem. Things like Yveltal, opposing Zapdos, stuff like that. I'm not sold on this Incineroar anymore. I think I'd rather have something that can attack a little bit harder. So I think we're going to go with Entei. So Entei's kind of cool. We don't see a lot of it in this format, and I think it's a little bit more of a issue of when instead of why not. Scarf Entei is really, really cool. Scarf puts you faster than most things in the format without having to have a ton of investment, because let's see here, Jolly is 167, which puts you at like 250 after Scarf, which you're not outspeeding Regieleki, but you're outspeeding everything else important, especially if you're like looking for things like Calyrex Shadow, which you don't have to put all your speed into to outspeed. 149 will get you there no matter what, and then you can put some in a bulk, max out your attack, do whatever. There's a lot you can do with Entei right now, I think. What's cool about Entei though is just what tools you get as a Scarf user. If I can unselect here. You get access to things like Bulldoze, you get access to things like Snarl, you get access to Extreme Speed, which could always be useful, even if you are Scarf, Extreme Speed's always useful. I like Sacred Fire a ton. This is another Helping Hand Pokemon, which I think is huge in this format. I think anything with access to Helping Hand is already a bonus in this format, especially with how bulky the teams are getting. But I think for this one, I think we're going to do Bulldoze, Snarl, Sacred Fire, and probably... Where's Stone Edge? Am I blind? I'm blind. I just passed it. There it is. Something similar to this, probably. So we run Bulldoze to help us outspeed Calyrex and other things like that. Since we can outspeed Calyrex at 149, we will always be able to Bulldoze first, and then hopefully our Zapdos or our Dialga can outspeed them. With Bulldoze, we can actually run Weakness Policy Dialga here and run Life Orb Zapdos and play something similar to this wherever Heat Wave is at, and then Protect. Play the Dynamax version of Zapdos, and that way we have two max targets that both benefit from Bulldoze in different ways. Kyogre, knowing that, we could probably just change this to the Light Clay version, and just do our normal Grimmsnarl thing. I'm going to keep Foul Play on just because I like having access to that, and do something similar like this. This is a very powerful team. I think Entei is a great Bulldoze user alongside these guys. And I think this team would work out really, really strong. Well, okay, getting into EVs and stuff here. This is the nitty gritty part, and this could be. It's all just speculation anymore. Um, most of the time, I think you like want max special attack on your Kyogres. You want max HP on your Dialga. That's something you almost always want to do. I don't remember the Moongus calcs. There's some weird numbers that you do here. I can't remember. I'd have to look it up later, but for right now, we'll just do this. Grimmsnarl, same way. There's some weird values that you hit for some reason, and I can't remember what they are. We'll just do that for right now. Entei, you want to make sure you hit enough speed to outspeed Calyrex Shadow with your Scarf, which should be 149 if I remember correctly. And then, obviously, you want some bulk. Probably a point in each of those. Want to make sure you have probably max attack and then just like a decent amount of HP. We'll just do that. Obviously, I'll have to run these calcs to double check and make sure that everything matches up correctly. But I think this is probably optimal. I'll have to double check it. This is the plug where you'll get all the updated EVs and whatnot in the paste once the video hits 10 likes or 50 views, whichever comes first. Zapdos, I'm not too familiar with. I know you want to be decently fast. Like, you don't want to be max speed, but I think you want to be at least decent. And you don't want to outspeed your Entei. But I think you probably want to be somewhere in here. Outspeeding Kyogre is super duper important, and then outspeeding Lando is also important, but then also Yveltal creeps to that speed, so I think going to like right here is fine. Some amount of special attack investment, I'm not sure what. You got to do your calcs. I don't have to do calcs with Life Orb. Again, that'll be in a little bit. Do the N-1 for Life Orb checks, so you're taking the least amount of Life Orb damage recoil as possible, stuff like that. Just gonna do Kyogre calcs in a minute, and same thing kind of here. Just do these calcs in a little bit when I know what I'm looking for. Modest, timid, calm. Yeah, something similar to this. I'll get EVs and fixed up when we actually get into battles and whatnot before that, and it'll be fixed once we hit our like and watch goal. All right, let's play a couple games here and kind of show you what this team's all about. So we have Zacian, Calyrex, Gigas, Weezing, and Blastoise Comfey. If there's one thing I know, this team is just a bunch of leads that are really, really strong. Blastoise Comfey is really, really good because it's like weakness policy probably. Weezing Gigas turns off all of the abilities. So what we can do here is to play around all of this. Moongus, and I think we'd rather do Entei. Like, Amoonguss Entei is very, very good because we can get a Sacred Fire off into this Gigas and maybe burn it before it has a chance to do anything. We could also do Entei Zapdos and Speed Tie this thing, because if we can get a burn on here, it's going to be huge. I like Entei Amoonguss, and then to deal with the back, Kyogre, Zapdos. Yeah, so they led Weezing Gigas here. This is the cool part. I can just Sacred Fire this, and I can just click Rage Powder. Like, worst case scenario, they have to double into Amoonguss. And so I always will get I have a very good chance of getting a burn off here into the Regigigas. They don't know I'm faster. Burn? Yeah, that's huge. Oh, it's Lum. Well, that's fine. That is 100% fine. Because I just get to do this again. And then pivot into Zapdos to prevent to see if they just burn again. Got another burn. Heck yeah. Means we lived the quake. That's fine. Sacred Fire one more time. And click Protect on the Zapdos. We've pretty much neutralized this Regigigas now, which is great. Now we can Sacred Fire into the Wheezing slot. And Dynamax Max Airstream into the Gigas. Yep, that's fine. Wheezing also is now burned. Airstream into Gigas. That's fine. We have the speed boost now, and that's what's important. The speed boost is what's important. Water Spout is still the most damage we can do. And then Airstream into Wheezing is fine. That's 100% fine. Because now we outspeed Regigigas. Regigigas goes down to the Water Spout. This game is pretty wrapped up, I feel like, even without our abilities. We were very effective at just stalling out our opponent and doing our thing, essentially. Yeah, so we max Airstream again into the Calyrex and Water Spout to pick it up. Oh. So there's Scarf. That's what that tells me. There's Scarf Calyrex. Neat. In this situation, it's time to Scald and click Heat Wave. We survived that. We Scalded the Zacian, took it out. Weezing's gonna go down to its burn next turn. Well, no, it's not, because it's got Black Sludge. I didn't realize it had Black Sludge, so this line is just Scald, Thunderbolt. GG's. Beat up the Gigas team. Let's get it. Let's get it. I think had they led the Comfey Blastoise lead, we would have been a whole heck of a lot more in trouble. But our Zapdos, I think, would have bailed us out of that situation. Opponent is salty. Salty stalls. Come on. Just finish the game out, dude. Salty stalls. Sure, bud. Sure. You can stall us out all you want. But as you can see from this team, that it's very powerful and it does its job really well. The Scarf Entei is really strong, I think, in this format. Being able to outspeed everything that really matters. In this situation, we wouldn't have outsped the Calyrex, but nothing's outspeeding Scarf Calyrex naturally anyway, except for like Regieleki with Scarf. So that's not something you have to really worry about too often. Got the double. Good for you. Like, opponent's just salting out at this point, thinking they can win the game by stalling me out when I just click the same moves every turn. I think this... I'm really proud of this team. I think this is where the format's kind of headed. These bulky steel types with Kyogre or with Groudon are going to probably become more popular as the format progresses. Zacian's going to probably dip a little bit because everyone's going to have good counters for it. We're already kind of seeing that a little bit as people kind of venture towards like Calyrex Palkia or Yveldon again and things like that. Let's see if they can get the triple. We're going to see if they get a triple protect here. Holy crap. Well, that is a 1 in 27, folks. That is a 1 in 27. 1 in 27, folks. Let's see if they can get the 4 in a row. But overall, this team's really, really strong. I think you all will enjoy this. if you liked what you see, make sure to hit that like button, ring the bell for notifications for when new videos go live. Leave a comment down below what other restricted duos you want to see me build around for deep dives. This has been a lot of fun doing the whole team building versions of deep dives rather than just kind of explaining what they do. But as we wait for our opponent to time out here, I want to thank everyone for hanging out and listening to me ramble about Dialga and Kyogre this week. Make sure to check out all of our other videos on YouTube. Make sure to go check out the merch page. Get yourself a hat. There's the win. No protect from them. Finally get all of our abilities back. GG's, opponent. GG's. And with that, we'll call it a day. Have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're at in the world. And we'll see y'all next week. Bye, everyone.